Hello and welcome to the Burn KC ScorchCast. I am your host, Alex Blackburn, here to bring you the Kansas City sports news of the week. There is actually not a lot of it this week, but still some to go over. Obviously, we had the last ScorchCast that we had. So it's been 5 days. A lot can happen in 5 days. But really, this week was kind of slow. There's a lot to talk about, but not a lot. We got some college football transfer portal updates for you. We got some college basketball updates as well, including talking about our burning question of the week. And then we got some Chiefs news, but then after that, there's not much else. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Like I said, this is probably going to be a shorter one. I know I said that about last time, and it ended up being an hour. So I'm hoping to keep it under 45 minutes this time. Please forgive me if I don't. Sometimes I just tend to ramble. But hopefully you guys still take some enjoyment out of it and take some enjoyment about me passionately talking about something that I'm very passionate about, which is sports. So, start. Okay, I'm talking about some transfer portal updates. There's a few. Missouri has landed some commitments. Let's start with Missouri, I should say. Missouri's landed some commitments from cornerback from Clemson, Toriano Pride. He's a 4-star guy. Should definitely fill the hole that Adams Drain will leave once he goes, or Abrams Drain, excuse me, once he leaves for the NFL draft. I believe he's leaving at least. I think he's a senior. I'll clarify that. But might actually include an errors I missed segment. I know that I had talked about it, but I might end up doing that for these ScorchCasts. So be patient. I think I have a way of correcting myself. In a way, I'm making it fun. But we'll see. Continuing on though, Missouri also got a commitment from 4-star running back Marcus Carroll from Georgia State. He will fill the Cody Schrader hole once Cody Schrader heads to the NFL, and hopefully he'll get picked up by someone because I think he's a solid running back and will put in some good work for anybody that picks him up. I know he's a little bit undersized, but just the way he runs is super impressive, and he can catch the ball too. So. Highly suggest an NFL team pick Cody Schrader, but that is left for NFL draft talk here in the next couple of months. As far as who is transferring out of Missouri, we just heard today, actually, that backup quarterback Gabari Johnson is going to be transferring. He was the third-string guy to Sam Horn and obviously Brady Cook. So he should be transferring, or has entered the transfer portal. He's being predicted to go to Oregon State, from what I'm seeing. But only time will tell. Other notable transfers include safety Tyler Hibbler, Makai Lee, offensive tackle EJ Doma Ogar committed to Arkansas State. He was a guard. And then DJ Westlake, who is an edge that is attracting quite a bit of attention, including from the two local schools, KU and Kansas State. So, speaking of Kansas, Kansas has been the least active out of any of the 3 local schools in terms of the transfer portal. They only have one incoming guy right now, Deshaun Hanukkah from Iowa State. He's a 3-star tight end. Should be the Mason Fairchild replacement. Hopefully he'll be a bit more productive than Fairchild was. You would have liked to have seen a little bit more production, just given how good Fairchild is. I thought he was going to be a key player. He wasn't as active, I'd say, as last year, but overall, I think Fairchild still had a very, very solid career as a KU uh, starting tight end. So hopefully Hanukkah can do that and potentially more. Some outs though for Kansas. Gage Keys, one of the team leaders in sacks, has committed to Auburn after entering the transfer portal. Um, Auburn's getting a good one. Gage Keys is what played an excellent compliment to Austin Booker. I thought he was going to stay, to be honest, but because Booker and Keys both transferred to Kansas from Minnesota and are pretty good friends. But nonetheless, I think he's going to go be great at Auburn. He's definitely built for SEC football. He's a big bodied edge that has a lot of quickness to him. So best of luck to him. Other ones include Tanaka Scott, who didn't see a whole lot of minutes as a wide receiver. He was more of a specialist, but still could provide a group of five team with some excellent Power Five experience. So we'll see where he lands. And then Will Huggins, who was the backup tight end to Mason Fairchild. So best of luck to him as well. I think the Hanukkah commit kind of sent him elsewhere. So the big one, though, is Kansas State. And not necessarily for the guys that are transferring in. They did have a couple of commits. Easton Kilty, great O lineman from North Dakota. I think he'll provide an immediate impact. He's a great player and a 4-star transfer. So that's a good pickup. And then Travis Bates out of Austin, PA, another FCS commit, but should translate well to the Division One FBS level. So two decent pickups there, but the real story are the guys that are transferring out of Kansas State. Kansas State has had a lot of guys transfer out. Just going down the list here, a few key ones at least. Kobe Savage committed to Oregon. He was probably their top corner, and he's just gone off to Oregon. So, RJ Garcia was expected to fill the void that Phillip Brooks is going to leave after this year. He has entered the transfer portal, hasn't committed to anybody yet, but is a hot commodity right now. Nate Matlack just committed to Pitt. He was a starting edge for the Wildcats and was a really good one at that. Pitt's getting a good pick there. Will Lee committed to Texas A&M. He was another corner. Kansas State is going to have to do some work either in the transfer portal or in high school recruiting to rebuild that secondary. It was already a secondary that was pretty short on numbers, but losing your two best corners is not great. So we'll have to see how they bounce back from this. Because on the defensive side, it's wearing really thin. Some linebackers have transferred out as well. A couple of them have. I don't think there were linebackers that saw major minutes, but still, nonetheless, they're depth pieces. And then you got Trayshawn Ward, who committed to Boston College. He's kind of a journeyman, so no surprise there. They still got DJ Giddens in the backfield. At least I think so. He might be a transfer, or he might be a senior. So we'll see if he ends up going anywhere. If he stays for another year, I don't know how much eligibility he has left. But the biggest one for Kansas State, and you've probably already heard me talk about this, quarterback Will Howard. He is transferring out. It is Avery Johnson's team now, starting with this upcoming bowl game, the Pop-Tarts Bowl for against NC State. It's not a gigantic loss. You know, Avery Johnson showed that he can play in the games that he did start while Will Howard was injured. But if you don't have a team around Avery Johnson, which that's not to say that Kansas State's backup wide receivers aren't that great. Um, but you would have liked to have at least seen RJ Garcia stick it out one more year. And then potentially even Trayshawn Ward, because Trayshawn Ward wasn't that bad of a receiving back. And obviously you're losing Ben Sinnott to the NFL draft. You're losing Cooper Beebe to the NFL draft. There's a lot of interesting. Obviously, Easton Kilty's coming in, but there are a lot of interesting transactions on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball that make Avery's life a little bit harder. So I think we're going to get a real litmus test to see how good this Kansas State Wildcat team can bounce back and have depth at their positions with this upcoming bowl game. I think this is going to be a good litmus test. But Will Howard, back to him real quick. He committed to USC today. USC has their quarterback, Malachi Nelson. Their backup quarterback to Caleb Williams is transferring, and by all accounts, Caleb Williams is not staying. I've heard him being predicted as a transfer to Ohio State. Doubt it, but because they can't afford him. But in NIL money and whatnot. But obviously, he's going to be a top pick in the draft as well, depending on if he wants to go to said place. Um, you know, details. But Will Howard is going to be the quarterback for USC. Um, we'll have to see if Will has it in him because Will had his duds. I don't see it, honestly. I don't see why USC went with Will Howard. He's got legs on him, yeah, and he's shown that he can make some pretty good passes. But his confidence levels are shot. He doesn't move around as well as he used to. He is going into a system that doesn't exactly match up with the K State system that he, had his strides in. So I'm intrigued to see how he fits in this USC offense. It'll be interesting to see. I think he'll be fine. I don't think he's going to be anything spectacular though. I don't think he's the next great USC quarterback. Let's just say that. Um, but we'll see. He may prove me wrong. So. But that's really it for college football news this week. Obviously, you got some bowl games coming up with Christmas and New Year's right around the corner. All three local teams will be playing in their respective bowls. I've already given my bowl predictions both in article form and in podcast form. So go check those out. I believe it was last week's ScorchCast that I did bowl predictions. I can't be sure. I may have done it in live too, even. So just go look through my page. I know for a fact that there's an article out there. So if you just match up the article with the next ScorchCast, I should be talking about it. So go check it out. Okay, we're on to some college basketball news. So let's talk about KU Indiana. That was perhaps the slowest start to a game that I have ever seen from the Jayhawks. But a win's a win. An ugly win is a win. And championship teams win ugly. So I don't know how much I can complain. But I'm going to find some complaints. um, KU has had a bench issue even since that national championship team. Um, you had some great bench players from that national championship team, and like Mitch Lightfoot, um, and other guys, but it just seems like KU has had a bench problem for the last 3 years, and it's kind of what's did them in games that really they should win pretty handily. And this past game against Indiana was no exception. The bench obviously needed to score more. You had some really, really good minutes from Jamari McDowell. I want to see him take over Nick Timberlake's minutes because Nick Timberlake was awful and has been not great for the past like few games. And obviously, we're talking about December basketball. Um, Things are going to change. Players are going to develop. Bill Self is still the best coach in basketball in college basketball right now. Um, it's gonna change for the better. KU goes through these ebbs and flows um, every year. I mean, even during the national championship year, you had your ebb and flows. And when it comes to this, when it comes to these types of games, it's your first true road test. You're going up against a team that is not bad. I mean, Indiana still has a lot of history as being a very, very good basketball program. And yeah, has had some down years in the past couple of years, but is still pretty good. Um, it was a test. It was a test that the Jayhawks passed, but it definitely didn't look like they were going to pass it that entire first half and really most of the second half too. Um, KU has to stop falling behind falling behind early because against good teams like Baylor, Houston, and others, you're not going to be able to come back. And yeah, I know Baylor got dog walked by Michigan State this past weekend, but they're going to be working real hard to make sure that that doesn't happen again. And KU should be working real hard to make sure that they don't fall behind in the first half. And yeah, if you come back in the second half, that's pretty telling of your team's character. It shows that you've got perseverance and you've got grit, which is very, very important for championship style teams. But there's a reason Purdue passed you in the rankings this past week. It's because Purdue looks like the more complete team right now. And yeah, they got beat by Northwestern. They probably shouldn't have been beat by North. In fact, they absolutely shouldn't have been beat by Northwestern. Northwestern just lost to Chicago State. But you know, KU had a close call with Eastern Illinois and UMKC. UMKC can't beat Bowling Green. No offense to my grad school alum. Go Roos. Um, but just I I can't fathom KU making it very far. Apologies, that's my cat's food dispenser. Um, but I can't imagine KU making it very far in not only the Big 12 but the NCAA tournament if they allow themselves to play to the opponent's level, to just kind of sleepwalk through the first half, to show this 10 fly softness down in the post. I mean, Hunter Dickinson got pushed around by guys much smaller than him. I mean, he's got to shore up and be tough and physical in there. Be the dude that everybody complains about. Be the guy that's most hated for big reasons. Not, oh, you left the Big Ten for NIL money. No, be a dude that's a junkyard dog down in the post and make people hate you. So like that's how you get hated. You shouldn't be hated for being NIL and being the snobby little rich boy. Be hated for being a junkyard dog. That's what got Christian Brown hated, and that's what should get you hated. Because that's how you make the NBA. Scouts pay attention to that. They don't pay attention to the guys that, think they're too good to play down and dirty basketball. And that's where Hunter Dickinson's game needs to change. And yeah, he still had a double double, and that's great. Keep producing numbers because scouts pay attention to that as well. But when you're being as soft as you were against Indiana, I mean, there's just no excuse for it. So overall, just KU's got Yale next. They should beat up on Yale. Uh, and yeah, just if they don't, there's real cause for concern. I'll just say that. Um, right now, though, I applaud the gritty win to come back and fight because that's what championship teams do. There's still a lot of kinks to be worked out with this KU team, but overall, it wasn't a bad performance front to back, but it was a bad performance for about half of it, at least half of it. So things to be fixed. It's December basketball, though. Speaking of that, let's talk about K State and Missouri. Starting with Missouri because I kind of want to go in on K State a little bit because we have a burning question that we need to talk about. But Missouri, they're winning games. They're, I think, 8 or 9-4 right now. I want to say 8-3, 9-3, 8-4. I I I can't put my finger on it. Let me check real quick to see their true record. But they're winning games that they should be, and that's what matters. Um, in December basketball, at least. Um, Missouri basketball currently is 7-4. Oh, they got beat by Seton Hall. Whoops, I forgot. Oh man, they led that game, didn't they? What happened? Hold on. Okay, maybe they didn't. Never mind. Or wait, yeah, they did. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. I'm dumb. They Seton Hall held off a comeback, and Seton Hall led by as many as 19 points. Seton Hall's a decent team, but that's a team Missouri probably should have beat if they, you know, want to be taken seriously and want to take a step up from last year. Um, it's inexcusable to go down 19 to them, and they probably deserved to lose that game by going down 19. But ending up losing only by 6 is something. I mean, at least you didn't lead the entire first half and then throw it all away because you couldn't adjust like you did in Lawrence. But nonetheless, Missouri 7-4. Not good, not great. Um, not bad. Just okay. They should be fine in the SEC. Obviously, they're going to be making big adjustments, but they have a huge litmus test coming up for when they face Illinois. Illinois is 16 right now, number 16. Missouri beat Illinois last year in I think it's called like the Gateway rivalry or something like that. It's something silly. But Missouri struggling against Seton Hall doesn't bode well for a team like Illinois, who, mind you, did beat KU in preseason and look pretty decent. So it's going to be a big litmus test for Missouri. And you can't go out and lose by 20. Let's just say that. If you do end up losing, you lose by less than double digits. If Missouri loses by less than double digits, I think they will be fine for the upcoming conference season in the SEC. If they lose by more than double digits, that's something to watch out for. because obviously you have some powerhouses like Tennessee, like Kentucky. Um, who am I forgetting? Florida's decent. They're not great. Um, Texas A&M's pretty good this year. Um, and then you have a few others that could give you some trouble, especially if you go into this conference season with not that great of a record and just not that great of performances. And like I said, Missouri's been okay, but they haven't had that like marquee performance or two in the non-conference like they did last year. So we'll see if this is it. If not, you move on. I think you got this is your well, you got Central Arkansas, but you should handily beat Central Arkansas. I mean, handily. Um, You got South Carolina too. South Carolina's 9-1 right now in men's basketball, so that's another team to watch out for. But it just you got two conference games left. Illinois moved to 13, by the way, in the latest rankings. Sorry, I had last week's rankings, but Illinois moved up to 13. If you can manage to beat Illinois, I think you can call the non-conference season at least slightly a dub. But obviously, you would have liked to have beaten like KU or gotten a couple more wins under your belt. So overall, not a bad non-conference, but certainly not a good one for Missouri. Certainly not one that they expected, at least. So, um, Kansas State. Oh boy, Kansas State. It's looking a little rough for the Wildcats. Nebraska, commonly known as one of the worst basketball programs, men's basketball programs in the Big Ten and really the NCAA. I don't have they made a tournament in like 20 years. I don't know if they've ever made a tournament to begin with. Does anybody know if Nebraska's even made a tournament? Nonetheless, you got beat 62-46. And for a team that wants to be taken seriously as a Big 12 contender, I have them ranked at, I think, 4 or 5 in my preseason rankings. Uh, and to go out and lose at home to Nebraska, where you only put up 46 points, is pretty embarrassing. You got one non-conference game left, or two non-conference games left. You got Wichita State, who is also 8-3, mind you, and is a in-state rival to the Wildcats. You got them next week at home, or this week at home, excuse me. Wow, gosh, it's already almost Christmas time. That's crazy. But you got them at home. You should be able to beat Wichita State at home. Wichita State is not the Wichita State of 2013 through 2015. They don't have Landry Shaman anymore. They don't have Fred Van Fleet anymore. They don't have a ton of Frame Camp anymore. Like they don't have those guys anymore. And if K State wants to be taken seriously in Big 12 basketball play, they have to beat them. Yeah, you've got wins against Villanova, which Villanova is having a down year. Everybody can see that. Um, they're 6-4 right now, and not the Jay Wright coach Villanova. Yeah, beat LSU, I guess, by 15, but again, they're 5-4, and you barely survived against North Alabama. Those are your games for the month, and then you end up losing to USC and Miami. Yeah, you only lost to Miami by 8, but you got swamped by USC. Um, just it's looked incredibly inconsistent, and I think a main reason why is this whole Naquan Tomlin drama that this basketball program has gone through. Um, if you hadn't heard, Naquan Tomlin has transferred to Memphis, um, and that's one of your best players leaving, but the reason he's leaving is a little bit less than reputable. the guy allegedly hit a woman. I mean, I the whole premise of the Naquan Tomlin situation was, well, there's not enough evidence to prove that he did anything wrong. There's still an ongoing investigation. There still might be further consequences for this. And for K State for K State fans to so adamantly defend Tomlin, even though that there's still an open domestic violence case against him, is absurd. It's sick. And just given the answers to the burning question this week, a lot of y'all agree with me. Let's have a look at those real quick. So I think the general consensus, at least from my fan base, and yeah, I know. Oh, you're a KU homer, Alex. You're always talking about Kansas being, this great basketball program. What about Ontario Morris? What about Josh Jackson? What about the NCAA violations? That's comparing apples to oranges first and foremost. No KU fan has ever defended those actions that Josh Jackson did or Arterio Morris, much less Arterio Morris. The general consensus from the KU fan base was that Arterio Morris is a piece of garbage and should have never been allowed on campus. And it was a mistake to give him a second chance. And the fact that K State almost did until obviously all this came out is pretty sad. But let's look at some answers that you gave me for um the Ontario Morris situation. Let's look at some answers. So just a sec. So we got a few here. Um, so the poll, from what you saw, at least, reflected the general consensus of these answers. The winning, the winning, the winning answer was K State fans pushed him too hard. He had to act. He, as in President Linton. Um, I tend to agree. If you read my article, you can see that I agree that, yeah, the decision was rash, but it kind of had to be because K State fans really just reacted incredibly poor to the delay in this situation. Here's the thing, you have to understand that just there's a lot that you all probably don't know about with this situation. And the fact that people are still even avidly defending the actions of Naquan Tomlin is kind of gross. Yeah, he graduated, congrats and everything, but like that's not what people are pointing to when it comes to his situation. It's, oh, President Linton screwed him over. He That's awesome that he graduated because he deserved to graduate. What if it comes back that he actually did break this woman's nose? What if it comes back that he wasn't provoked by a racial slur? What if it comes back that he was acting completely abhorrently? Yes, I know I used true adverbs. I apologize. But just it overall, the reaction did not fit the bill. and you may lose Coach Tang over it. You look at the attendance for the K State Nebraska game; it was so poor. You guys, you guys are so wishy washy on your support for the regime that stands. It's insane. President Linton probably is doing the right thing because he has way more information than you guys do. And the fact that you forced his hand by getting up in arms and protesting and calling the state legislators, all of that for nothing is ridiculous. It's why Kansas State fans have a bad rep. It's not just because you put out, you know, you take vague rumors and treat them as fact. We're not going to get into the whole Jalen Daniels situation. I already have talked at length about it. But the fact that there is so much defending going on when you have no idea what happened that night, that Tomlin got arrested. Cops just don't randomly arrest black people. And cops don't randomly arrest people in general. I know that there is a stigma surrounding the police. I know that there is an institutional problem that we have in the United States regarding the police and the justice system. But this is not one of the examples of someone being screwed over by it. This is an example of people wanting special treatment for an athlete because he's good at playing a sport. That's what it boils down to. And again, you didn't see it at KU with Josh Jackson or Terry Morris. There's been some pretty, nasty people to come through the KU basketball program, but that's how they were thought of as nasty people. Even the stuff that Brandon Green did, and he didn't even break any laws. He was just a bad person, like just completely full of himself, a narcissist, and that's how he was treated. So why can't you treat this athlete, Nico Tomlin, with the same scrutiny that you treat KU athletes that do bad things? You're not representing what you think you're representing. It shows that you think of the rules for me, but not rules for thee, but not for me clause. Justice needs to be served, and justice is getting served, whether you like it or not. And the fact that you're not allowing justice to run its course is going to drive off people that are surrounding this program, such as Jerome Tang, such as Gene Taylor. If I'm President Linton, I'm gone too. So, in other words, it's just you're trying to stand on moral high ground that you don't have, and because you don't have the information to have that moral high ground. For all you know, you could be defending a terrible human being. So just wait and see before you make judgment. Anyway, on to the Chiefs. Okay. So the Chiefs. Um I don't know how many weeks we can say it. before it just looks like insanity. The wide receivers continue to have problems. The Chiefs keep defending their wide receivers and not holding them accountable. The most accountability that I've seen so far is Sky Moore being placed on injured reserve. In other words, he's probably benched. That's good at least. Put someone competent in there, please. Uh, if you have anybody competent, at least. Because oh my gosh, if the Chiefs were to lose that game after going up 17 in the fourth quarter, I don't think that wide receiver room survives that night. Because I can't even put into words how poor the performance has been this season. And the epitome, the pillars, the three pillars of these poor performances are Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, and MVS. The fact that nothing has been done to combat these poor performances from the players, the coaches, or the administration of the Chiefs makes me incredibly concerned. Kadarius Toney had another game-changing drop. And still nothing is going to be done. There are pictures of him and Travis Kelce saying, "Oh, you'll get it next time, champ. You'll get it next time." And I know, well, you don't know what was said in that meeting. I don't care. If I'm Patrick Mahomes, I have lost all faith in Kadarius Toney. And if something happens like what's happened with MVS again, if MVS does something stupid again, or drops a gimme, then I'm losing trust in him too. It's clear to see that he's lost all trust in Sky Moore. He's on the bench now. But just what needs to be done for this Chiefs wide receiver room to pull its head out of its butt? I think what's going to be done, what's going to be done next year is going to happen. I think Brett Veach sees the writing on the wall and is going to do his classic overcorrecting, like he did after the Super Bowl in 2021. I think that's what's going to happen because it needs to happen. This wide receiver room is terrible. Terrible. And it could have easily been avoided if you just spent the money on a wide receiver instead of worrying about Chris Jones. Because frankly speaking, Chris Jones, yeah, he's been productive this year. Yeah, he's provided a boost to an already good defense. But he hasn't been, last year's Chris Jones, he hasn't been the force that we know him as. It's been his supporting cast. It's been guys like Drew Tranquil, like Mike Dana, like George Karlaftis. Trent McDuffie has stepped up. L'Jarius Sneed has stepped up. Yeah, he's had some penalties, but so he did last year too. He's still one of the better corners in the AFC and in the NFL in general. My problem with it is, yes, the Chiefs don't have to win the Super Bowl every year. But this isn't playing the long game. It's being inept to the writing on the wall. And now Veach can't, but this could have been predicted to happen back in July. I predicted it to happen. I was just like, yeah, no. I'm not holding out hope that this wide receiver core is going to be anything spectacular. I'm hoping that I'm I have a little bit of crazy faith. Shout out to Jerome Tang. Um, but oh man, the fact that this was predicted to happen by multiple people, both in and out of the Chiefs organization, Chiefs insiders and Chiefs outsiders alike, predicted that the wide receiver room was going to underperform this year. And Veach still let it happen. Bothers me to my core. Because it was easily preventable. And you still saved money. Have the defensive signings been an asset? Absolutely. Mike Edwards has been great. Drew Tranquil has been great. Yeah. That's it. That's it. Glad you brought Chris Jones back, I guess. But the Chiefs could be 12-1 right now if it weren't for wide receiver mistakes. 12-1. So that's just my 2 cents on the Chiefs. Again, I think the overcorrection is for sure happening. If Veach knows what's good for him, it's gonna happen. He's probably gonna go out, spend big money on wide receivers, and adjust the pay grades of the people that need adjusting. I wouldn't be surprised if he cuts everybody but Rashi Rice. To be frank, and maybe Justin Watson. Justin Watson's been wide receiver too, and that's saying a lot, mind you. So take that as you will. All right. So a little bit about the Blues. That's our show, pretty much. But a little bit about the Blues. The toy drive. Um, First and foremost, the party was a success from what I saw. Thank you to everyone that came out. Unfortunately, I couldn't come out due to time commitments that I already had. But I heard it was a great success. Shout out to Matt Workin for organizing all of that and for being uh, true true blue guy. um, but the toy buying event and the toy delivery event have both been moved. Or no, sorry, the toy buying and toy wrapping events have been moved. Um, Toy buying has been moved to Thursday, and toy wrapping has also been moved to Thursday. They're going to try and knock it out in one fell swoop. Certain things happened that I'm not going to get into regarding the event, but Thursday, because it's not my business to get into really. Um, but Thursday is when all of those events are happening. Hopefully, y'all can find the time to come out and help out a good cause. If not, then Saturday is the toy delivery day, so come out for that. Um, Other than that, that's our show. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if I missed anything regarding any like Royals news or Sporting KC news. I know this was kind of a shorter show, but like I said, hopefully I kept it under 45 minutes. This is the Burn KC signing off. Have a great night.